will we ever get to the bottom of it as long as Devin Nunes is the Republican chair of the House Intelligence Committee? And it was interesting yesterday with Sean Spicer, at the briefing. If we can, Jamie, when he's asked about, aren't you concerned that this guy looks like he's just a puppet of the White House?
We're not concerned about that. I know that he is, again, everything that I know about what he has done is through public reports that he has made on the record to different folks when he said he has multiple sources.
Multiple sources. Yeah, but Nunes is saying his source was at the White House. So he goes to the White House to get the stuff. He comes up to the Hill, holds a news conference and says, I just found all this stuff. I'm not going to tell you where it came from, but I've got to run to the White House to brief the president. He just come from the White House.
Well, let me just pause this for a moment and get to your first question. Will we get to the bottom of this? And I think it's really important for your listeners to remember that there are 3 investigations into this going right now.
Yeah.
The Senate Intelligence Committee, the FBI, and the House Intelligence Committee. And shock, shock, the House seems to be the only one that has descended into political sideshow and insanity.
True.
So,
Good point. Right.
I think whatever's going on with Nunes and the drama with Nunes and Schiff and, the daily back and forth on this may not affect law enforcement or the government's ability to investigate this. The Senate is actually seemingly proceeding pretty responsibly and quietly here. But as you were detailing...
And the FBI is also doing its job.
Yeah, and we have not seen, there were all these questions during the campaign of like, was the New York field office of the FBI leaking and blah, blah, blah. We're not seeing any of that stuff there.
Yeah.
So the House investigation is kind of uniquely wacky right now. And as you've pointed out, basically Nunes came out and made this claim that someone in Trump's orbit, possibly the president himself, his language was very unclear, was caught on incidental surveillance. And he made this claim after this mysterious, leaping out of an Uber ride, late night visit, possibly to the White House complex. I think it's really important, if I may, to just unpack this a little bit.
Please.
Because, what Nunes is saying is pretty much proven. And let me take you down this road, right? Incidental surveillance is basically, if we look at, let's use an example that I'm almost certain is true. Peter over here is undoubtedly being surveilled by multiple government agencies. He's a very shady character.
That's true.
And if
too real.
If Peter calls and orders a pizza, as he might one evening, chances are that pizza shop, whoever answers the phone, is incidentally caught up in Peter's communications.
Right.
They might not be subject of the investigation.
He might even just be telling somebody, my favorite pizza shop is such and such. In other words, he could have referred to the pizza shop without calling the pizza shop.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I don't think it's that explosive to say the Trump people were incidentally caught on these communications.
They were, because they were talking to these people.
Well, you also know they were because transcripts of Michael Flynn's conversations were referred to in the press. So we know that at least in the instance of Michael Flynn and his conversations with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak, that he was caught up in surveillance in some way. The big question there is, was he the focus of the surveillance or was Kislyak? Yeah. And it is, again, just as I said, it's routine for diplomats to be in touch with officials here. It is routine for us to do surveillance on foreign diplomats. So we know that they were caught up in this surveillance. The big question is sort of the how and the why there. And, what I find really interesting about this whole kerfuffle is it's basically the reverse. As you know, I've called into this show before. I used to do local New York politics. I have covered my share of wiretaps and scandals. And this is the first one where you have a political crew saying, hey, we really were wiretapped. I swear. Yeah. Usually they're making the opposite argument. They're trying to say we weren't wiretapped.
But don't you think that when Donald Trump told Tucker Carlson, you watch in the next week or so, we're going to have some hot stuff, some really good stuff coming out. This is what he was talking about, I think.
I mean,
and they were trying to twist this into proving that they were being spied on, when in fact all it proved is
Well, again,
There were other people spied on who happened to either talk to them or mention their name.
Right. Just to unpack
Right?
it, you know, it's very important to be super precise when we talk about these intelligence investigations, because they have really tight procedures, and each thing has very different implications. And, you know, the Trump people have pointed to the Flynn transcript as evidence that there was some type of wiretap, which is inarguably true. But that doesn't prove the president's claim, which was a very specific thing.
Right.
President Trump tweeted, "Obama wiretapped Trump Tower."
Yeah.
That did not happen, right? And it's, again, very important to, you know, let's speak very precisely about what he said. Obama wiretapped Trump Tower. Now, I'm going to give him an allowance here. Legally, the president doesn't have the authority to order a wiretap. Now, I'm assuming, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say when the president tweeted that, he meant Obama officials, the Obama administration wiretapped Trump Tower. Okay, because, you know, you have to say the Justice Department, you know, the DNI.
Right. All part of it.
Right. These are Obama's guys. They would have been able to order wiretaps, right? However, as far as we can tell, there was no direct wiretap of Trump's campaign, Trump's company during the campaign. So this stuff just has not been proved.
And they haven't proven it and probably can't prove it. Right.
Right.
So,
but like you were saying, he then sort of hinted there was evidence coming in an almost Roger Stone-like move. And, you know, then Nunes came out and sort of bolstered it. But, you know, I talked to an anonymous White House official who, you know, pointed to the Flynn thing as justification for his claim. And look, you know, if they want to raise their hands and say, hey, we were wiretapped, which is a stunning thing to do, as I was saying before, they're right. But it's really important to respond to that by saying, okay, but this is totally separate from the thing the president said. If you want to look, if you want to argue like our guys were sort of surveilled, okay, they were. Right. The question is, was that proper or improper? Should the names have been leaked? Whatever. But Trump was not wiretapped by Obama.